Well, we went to see Devil as part of the musical, and we took our friend Alice Bryan, and she didn't know it was a musical. It was a serious play.
Yeah, a serious dramatic
we were
reenactment.
Going to see a Shakespeare retelling of the Devil Wears Prada.
The lights went down, and Amy Di Bartolomeo, who plays Emily, who's an icon and Olivier nominated. Shout out. Yeah, she comes out and she goes she does her Emily bit, and then she goes enjoy the show, don't sing along, enjoy the show. And Alice just goes, oh fuck, is it a musical?
Alice really loudly went, oh, is it a musical?
As it
and
went,
then me and Chris were sorry.
Stay hydrated. First thing in the morning, tired and yawning. What you gonna do?
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Stay Hydrated with my sister Elizabeth Hall
and my brother Christopher Hall.
Had a little moment there when I forgot your name.
It's totally fine.
It's
only been 27 years.
Yeah, and today we have a fabulous guest. Very, very excited that she is here. We're in your girlfriend's office.
Yeah.
Where she also podcasts from. Queer Gals Watch, West Wing, Lee Douglas and Fee
Kingwell.
Yeah, get into that if you like. Watch the West Wing.
Yeah, or if you just want queer, I guess.
Or you just want to, I don't know, you just want something easy listening with two fun gals.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is where Lee podcasts, and now we are just filming this little intro here. We have to sit quite close together, and unfortunately, guys, I have just had some rice and some salmon, so it's kind of an antisocial meal to have them be sat so close to you, Elizabeth.
And I've chosen to forgive you.
Yeah, I was having a really big trouble with the can opener. It looked like I'd just hit the can over the head as opposed to actually tried to take the top off properly. But we got there.
We got there, and I think the journey and the destination. It's all important.
Yes, you keep moving forward and then moving back. Why don't you just lean in?
Well, because I have an update.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, last week we discussed how proud we were of Bridget Mendler and her going to space.
Oh, yes.
Apparently...
Ready or not.
Well, exactly that. Apparently her company is actually to industrialize space.
What does that mean?
I guess, I don't know. Well, make...
You keep saying, do I know?
Sorry,
and I've said, what does that mean?
Sorry.
I've literally asked you, what is that?
Sorry. I mean, I don't...
What, to make people go there, to make it like a city in space?
Well, I don't know. I don't know full details. Maybe I'll circle back again next week.
She's doing Space Tycoon.
Yeah. I think she's kind of wanting to go how do we set up businesses and how do I be the first person to have... How do I be the first
Oh my God. The first person.
How to be the first person who, I guess runs businesses out of space and
There's plenty. Come to London. They built so many office spaces just before COVID, and then they have been shells for the last 5 years. There's places to run businesses out of on land.
Yeah, a WeWork on every corner.
There's a WeWork everywhere. I want to be the first person to run a business from space.
I mean,
you also haven't given me the actual concrete details of this.
Let me go ahead and next week's intro, I'll be back. I'll have more facts and figures. Perfect. And we'll properly unpack.
Because this is a facts and figures place.
Always has been, always will be.
Interesting. So we were championing Bridget, and I'm not actually going to not champion her further education.
No, we're not. And when we, again...
And diversifying post-Disney Channel.
Yeah, exactly. I think jury's out is what I would say.
Whether she's a good person or not. Or, actually, not a good person or not, but whether she's doing stuff that's
entrepreneurial endeavors are
good for the world,
unnecessarily what we want.
Yeah.
But I'll be back with that.
Okay, Bridget, I don't think you're a bad person. We just saying
it's okay. She's not going to hear this.
You don't know, bitch. You don't know. I was sending an email earlier. I basically was asking for I was getting a poster mock-up for my Edinburgh show. Shout out the Edinburgh Fringe. If anyone is up there from the 11th onwards, I'll be doing a work in progress. But I was getting a poster mock-up, and I got an email back being I might be able to do this. I sort of got the person said I might be able to do this, but it kind of depends on. He sort of implied that there might be a problem with him doing it, and I kind of wanted to say okay, cool. Basically, the reply was from me do I need to move on to someone else, or can we work around it, kind of thing. And I was writing the email properly, hello, thank you for your reply, blah, 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 blah. And I was what is the formal way of saying, what's the tea on this? I literally was I couldn't word it. That wasn't hey, cool. Like, thanks for your reply. Like, no worries regarding the might be issue. What's the tea? Like, is it like a bad, like, are you saying no? Are you saying, do you know what I mean? I just needed more information, but I couldn't work out for the life of me how to say it. That wasn't like, what's the tea on this? I ended up saying like, should I get you what I said?
Please.
I said, just fill it while I look at my emails. Fill the airspace.
Hey, you're listening to Smooth. I regret.
That was terrible,
I'm sorry.
So he said, are you going with this company? It might be difficult for me if you do. So I was like,
oh my God, there actually is kind of two.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, like, I was like, so should I go with I was going to go with that company. Like, is that an issue? Like, what's the tea? Like, how serious is this? Yeah. But I was like, I obviously can't say what's the tea. Anyway, I said, may I ask why it would be difficult? And if I can't even read what I wrote. May I ask? Phil?
The pressure.
Yeah, so I said, you need to work on some improv.
I will.
I said, may I ask why it would be difficult for you to do this, or is it not my business to know? Well, but then it took me like a good 5 minutes to like word. Yeah, because I wanted to be like, but then I was like, I didn't want to be like, what's the like, why? Because then he might be like, bro, that's like not something I'm going to talk to you about. Right. I don't know.
I feel you still kind of said, what's the tea?
Yeah, right. And then he said, oh no, it's just to do with deadlines. And I was like, oh, work. And then I said, I said, oh, lol. So I went immediately informal. I said, oh, lol. I wasn't sure if there was a feud or something.
And so what happened? Is he going to do the poster?
Yeah, he is. But the main point was like, I feel like I do write like grown up sensible emails quite a lot, but like it was funny to like how do you ask formally, girl, what's going on?
Yeah, like sis, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Anyway, who do we have on the podcast this week?
We have someone amazing on the podcast. I also had something else to talk to you about, but no, we're fine. We'll move on. I'll save it for next week. You want to wrap up? No. We are very it's very exciting this week. We have an amazing friend of us both, an amazing comedian, writer, performer. I've been lucky enough to work with Grace Campbell, who was on the pod a few times. We did her short film together that she wrote and directed and starred in, and I played her gay best friend, a role that was a real challenge. Yeah, you're kind of pushing kind of the boundaries of yourself as an actor there. Truly. And she had an amazing show at the Hammersmith Apollo last year that I did an opening spot for, which was super fun. She's an amazing person and she's hilarious, and we're so happy that she could join us on the podcast today. Oh, one thing that I want to talk to you about, everybody. Tomorrow night, the 14th of May, me and Lee Douglas, whose podcast mic we're using, we host a comedy night in Clapham called LGBT Hee Hee, and it is a killer lineup tomorrow. It is so stacked. Me and Lee will be hosting. You've got Jen Brister, Morgan Rees, Temi Wilkie, Kima Bob, and Dan Y. Are you joking? So come down to the Brewers if you are in London. And if you would like to see a work in progress by me over the coming months, I'm in Cardiff, Bristol, Margate, Brighton, Manchester, and Berlin. Guten Tag, okay? So go to the link in my bio to get your tics if you'd like to come see.
That was amazing. I loved Guten Tag.
Thank you. That is German, right?
Yeah. And also, so is Langsamer bitte, which I believe means slower, please.
Wow. What, bitte?
Oh, yeah. Langsamer bitte.
Bitte.
Bitte. I'm giving it a French accent, but that means slower, please.
Yeah, cool. And when have you used that, like in an Uber?
I learned that in year 9 German.
Nice.
And it stuck.
It's always the valuable phrases that stick with you. Yeah, we have, please enjoy the fabulous Grace Campbell. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad that we can do this.
Us too. We were just talking about the great senses dogs have.
So I was saying, well, because Lee, your wonderful girlfriend, is currently looking after Eddie, my wonderful dog. Imagine if I said my wonderful girlfriend.
Your life partner.
My life partner, Eddie, my Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And Eddie somehow had dragged Lee back to where we were because she could smell that I was still here, which is severely creepy if you think about it. The fact that they can tell where you are, like, by a scent that strong. Maybe I just sting. And then I was saying I read this thing that was like, dogs can hear 6 times further away than humans can. And then you thought of a good bit, which was...
If dogs can hear 6 times away, than humans can, and we can't even see a red flag in like a terrible
I'm
man.
having that. Copyright.
No, it's yours.
Trademark.
Yeah.
That's a joke for my stand-up. It's a great bit.
Yeah, that's kind of incredible.
Dogs are like thick in some ways, but then so smart in other ways. And like they can smell. That's why like dogs always find like dead bodies and shit.
Yeah.
No, so
vibe
true.
down.
Yeah.
But, like,
Wow.
that's
What was
why,
that?
like dogs can
2 minutes.
smell shit.
What's crazy is I'm like, you would imagine that it would be that Eddie could smell like along the floor, but it's like, what's she smelling like? The underside of your boots? And
Well,
it's like,
do you know about this, right? So in that book, Homo Sapiens, I read this thing which I think about a lot, which is that, actually, I don't think it was from Homo Sapiens. But Homo Sapiens is where I learned the origin of gossip. And then I read another book about dogs. I sound like I read books. I read like one book a year. But I read another book about dogs that said that the reason why dogs love sniffing, so what Eddie will be doing right now is just sniffing around, is because it's their form of social media. It's their way of knowing who's been here, right? So they'll smell, and she might smell the piss of a dog she knows.
Yeah.
She might smell the piss of a dog who might be related to someone, and she'll be able to sense that. Sometimes when I'm walking her and she stops to sniff and she really has to get in there and sniff part of the pavement, I'm like, you're getting some shit there. You're finding out something there.
DMs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're scrolling.
Yeah. Someone's just accidentally posted a story
That
that was meant to be in the DMs and you've just sniffed it.
Yeah. Then when you're like dragging a dog on a walk, like if you're like, oh, we need to like do a quick walk, like you can't keep sniffing, and you see people like, no judgment, people have busy days, but you're like pulling your dog away from
you're
everything
taking
smelling.
them away from Instagram.
You're giving them those time limits on Instagram.
Exactly.
And would you like that?
Well, you should.
Well, yeah.
Get off Instagram.
so going back to what you just said, what's the origin of gossip?
Yeah. Just so
So,
we don't have to read the book.
Yeah. What are the spark notes?
Well,
on that
gossip
chapter?
was like, it was originated as a way for people to, I guess, like, before any form of technology, right? Communities would gossip as a way to like feel connected to each other and then gossip was a huge part of like the spread of information. People would talk about like other people and what was going on, and that's how people knew about like what existed. I read this book so long ago, so I'm paraphrasing it a lot. But my thing, I think gossip is healthy.
Yeah.
I think we should all gossip, and I think like bitching to an extent, if done ethically, is a good thing. And
ethical bitching.
ethical bitching.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, gossip is a great word, and it feels fun and flirty. And as soon as people say, "Oh, you're bitching," then obviously that's a different turn. But gossip,
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think it's like, I would never gossip about something that's not gossipable about. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's like obvious lines of like what you should gossip about. But I do like a sort of, oh my God, have you heard?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the thrill of it.
And we have a great reaction
Can I-
to gossip.
Oh.
Wait, what?
No, I was going to say, when I sometimes will text Chris saying, can I be a bitch for a second?
And I say, please.
Yeah.
Safe space.
Proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you give me some really good gossip, I go, wow, chomp.
Chomp,
Chomp, chomp.
chomp, chomp, just
Chomp's
chomping on that.
Yeah. Also, you can add an action for people listening. You can add an action of like licking your fingers a
Yeah.
little bit. But
Yeah.
the chomp is definitely a great response to when you hear some good gossip.
Yeah, it does make sense that in a pre-technology community, you would gossip to like be like, he's a weirdo.
Well, that's
Don't
the
let
other
him
thing.
into
And
the
that,
community.
exactly. And that's how those kinds of like, pre-existing forms of like Me Too and like people, it's how people could warn each other off of like weird people.
Yeah.
And that's another form of gossip, is say like someone is going on a date with like a creep. Be like, oh,
creep.
don't. And if gossip didn't exist, you wouldn't know she was going on a date with him.
Have you ever gone on a date with someone or put someone on that Facebook group of like, are you dating this man?
No, but do you remember that guy? The one who said, was it Liz? You're going to die at this story. No, so there was this guy who I had like matched with on a dating app. This is years ago, and we were gonna meet up, and then we never did. I think I'd just gotten a puppy, and I was like bored of. Oh, I think he lived really far away as well. Lived in like southwest London. Anyway, at one point when we were talking, he said he'd been on that group. Are we fucking the same guy? And I
Yeah.
was like, well, that's a red flag. Like, I don't know why you're telling me that. I was
Right.
like, why were you on that? And he was like, oh, it's just, people were saying that I've been like standing them up. I was like, well, Were you? Like,
People are saying I
okay.
cheated on them, and it's like, did I? Yeah.
Anyway, so after that, I was like, I'm just not going to meet this guy. And then like about 5 or 6 months later, someone messaged me on Instagram being like, I went on a date with someone the other day and all he did was talk about the fact that he'd had sex with you. And I was like, oh shit. I was thinking, okay, like loads of my exes are not over me. So I was like, who was it? Loads of them are, by the way, but some of them definitely still aren't. And I was like, who was it? And then she said, this guy, the one who I'd never met, and sent me a picture of him. And I was like, I never met him. Like, that's fucking weird.
He lives in South
He lives in
West,
Southwest London.
Yeah.
And he was on Are We Fucking the Same Guy? And so then I messaged him like, hey, someone's just messaged me saying that you've been going around saying that you got with me. And he was like, at first he was really defensive. And then he went, I maybe did say that we like were going to meet up and I just didn't reply. And then he went, okay, yeah, I did say that we met up. And then he was going, who was it? Who was it?
The spiral with you not replying.
I just wasn't replying. He's
Like, how many
me.
people have you been saying this to?
Exactly. Then he went, who was it? Was it Liz?
Oh my God.
And then I said, no, it wasn't Liz. And then he said, was it Caitlin? And I said, it wasn't Caitlin. And then he was
Stop
saying,
guessing.
he'd obviously been going around telling loads of people that he'd fucked me and we'd never met.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it
gossip.
Liz?
Was it Liz?
Gossip.
Yes.
And that is why gossip exists.
And that is why gossip needs to exist.
Was
Yeah.
it Liz?
Yeah, because we were dying. Because was it Liz? Was like then we were just
It was like
was
dot,
it
dot,
Liz?
dot, dot, dot,
and then
dot,
Chris
dot.
would actually talk
Was
about
it
you,
Liz?
and I'd be like, oh, not Liz, not that Liz.
Not that one. I think your next pod merch should be
Was it Liz?
Was it Liz?
Yeah. It's
I
such
Was
a
it
good
Liz
line.
is amazing.
Such a good line.
And the way you just let him, he was just spiraling. Sending
I
you,
will
it was
say,
like message.
Listeners, that is my best. Like, and I know that sometimes I've done that, but when you've caught someone out for doing something bad, send them one like, psh, and then just don't reply and watch them in real time. Just have to come.
Unravel.
Because the more you give them, then the more they can lie about. Whereas I just was watching him type. And then he went through all of these different lies. And then eventually was like, yeah, I have been telling people that we fucked.
Yeah.
So embarrassing.
How dare you say that? I would never come to Southwest London.
Like Surbiton.
Never.
No offense, John.
I was actually going to say track John. Guys, my boyfriend lives in South, West.
No, but he lives in
Southwest.
Barnes. So
He does, yeah.
It's very chic.
It's
Barnes.
very
Where
chic.
Gary Lineker lives.
It's just, and Stanley Tucci apparently.
Oh, of course, Stanley Tucci lives in Barnes. That makes so much sense. It's like very, and also Holly
Willoughby lives very close. If not Barnes, maybe Ham.
Oh, there's a place called Ham.
Yeah, apparently we keep trying to go to the pizza place that Stanley Tucci thinks is the best pizza in
Wow,
London.
and you can't get a table.
No, we can get a table.
Oh.
There's just no Stanley Tucci yet.
Fine.
Stanley Tucci is
He keeps evading us.
when he does those videos. Is that
Yeah,
him?
yeah.
I thought
It's so
it was him.
cute. Are you recording?
All right.
Yeah.
He's
Today I'm
like,
gonna make pasta.
I love pasta puttanesca.
Yeah. Famously plays lots of gay best friends.
Yeah,
That's
well,
okay.
him in Devil Wears Prada is like
Life changing.
We had a fun time at Devil Wears Prada the musical.
Well, we went to see Devil Wears Prada the musical, and we took our friend Alice Bryan, and she didn't know it was a musical. She thought it was a serious play.
Yeah.
of the Devil
A
Wears
serious
Thought
dramatic
we were going to
reenactment.
see like a Shakespeare retelling of the Devil Wears
And like
Prada.
the lights went down, and like the Amy Di Bartolomeo, who plays Emily, who's an icon and Olivier
amazing.
nominated. Shout out! I don't know if this might have come out after the Olivier's. I hope you won.
Yeah, I'm sure you will have
I
won
really hope
because
you
you're
won.
so good as
Keep
Emily.
this in. I hope you won. Yeah, she comes out and she goes like, she does like her Emily bit, and then she goes like, enjoy the show. Like, don't sing along, enjoy the show. And Alice just goes, oh fuck, is it
No,
a
Alice
musical?
really loudly went, oh, is it a musical?
As it
And
went,
then me and Chris like were like hysterically laughing. And then every time they would break into song, she'd go,
slunch over. Oh, physically like not happy. Something that made me think of you on the way here, from someone who grew up in London. Did you go on school trips on the tube? We were on we were on the tube this morning, and there was like 40 school kids. Love, they've got to get somewhere. As a teacher, scary.
yes, we did. I will never forget my my dad worked in politics when I was growing up, and then he left Downing Street when I was like 9 or 10. And so then like when I was still at primary school, we went on this school trip and my mum was like, look, you've been a pretty absent father for most of Grace's life so far. You're going to be one of the chaperones on this school trip. And we went to, I think it was the Science Museum or like the British Museum, one of the museums. And I just really vividly remember looking at this man and thinking, you're so fucking out of your depth. Like, you're on a school trip with 60 children. It was my whole year 6 primary school year. And I remember being on the tube and just thinking, he does not want to be here. He was just in the walls of power. And now he's like on the Northern Line with 60 screaming kids. And no one gives a fuck who he is. So we definitely did do that.
No, like Mr. Campbell, you have 10 pairs of children
Well,
to
because
not
that's what
lose.
and the parents, you know, you have to chaperone, you have to like not lose children.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to lose a child when you have so many of them. I was thinking that
On the
yesterday.
tube.
On the Eurostar, there was a massive school trip coming to London. I was like, okay, must be nice. We got to go to like the Science Museum, not to Paris. But and then I was thinking, you know, anyone could just grab one of these children and then like you've lost
if the
a kid.
tube goes,
I know.
what do you do then? Yeah, that's so scary. That's so scary. I mean, like our mum is a primary school teacher, but it was you get 30 kids out of the classroom onto a bus, and then you like get to the place, fine.
Yeah.
But I just feel tube, train, scary. So scary.
Then it's like, do you like keeping a hold of the children when you're like walking around the museum, when you're walking around the...
That's okay only because you're like, well, I mean, yeah, it's
Well,
less scary. I feel.
We went on some really epic school trips. So like when I was in secondary school, we went to Poland, went to Krakow, and we were about 16 and we ran away so many times. So many times because we were like, we're going clubbing.
Yeah.
Like, we're in Poland. We're going clubbing. So we would just like all be at dinner and then 5 of us would just like run away and go and buy pink cigarettes and go clubbing.
Oh my God,
Very,
pink
very chic.
cigarette.
Yeah, they have these pink cigarettes that, you know, the pink wafer biscuits. What are they called? Wafers.
Panthers.
Yeah.
Panther? Have I just,
You know,
is
there's
that a
That's
nickname?
a brand.
Yeah. So like those, but they have a cigarette that tastes just like them.
Whoa.
It's mad. Yeah. I mean, popcorn lung, but
Yeah.
was amazing.
But delicious at the time.
Delicious. I was like, this is like a meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank
It was
God.
the precursor
you
to
skipped
vape,
dinner.
to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, yeah.
They walked so vaping could run.
God, we really think we're really out here thinking vaping is some new concept.
Yeah. No, Poland's
flavoured
been
cigarettes.
on that game.
Pink cigarettes.
I remember a girl from at school. She was from China, and she came back from the summer holiday once with these like coloured cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I smoked them though. I just looked at them.
My friend went to Japan once, and he said that they were just like sat in like a outdoor like restaurant, and like Marlboro girls come around and just like give out free packets of cigarettes, like just free 20 packs.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
not like all the time, but like that's
Yeah.
like an advertising thing. Is like cigarettes, and he was like, "I'll take
Sounds
7
like a
packs,
dream.
please."
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You'd never, although they do give out the
I feel that's like a really like.
Snus.
yeah.
Oh, that's the chewy.
The like weird powdery
Schnooze.
stuff.
What is
It's
that?
horrible.
Oh.
It's like a little sachet of sort of nicotine that you put inside your mouth, and then it sort of makes you feel like you're having a panic attack, gonna shoot yourself, your mouth's like on fire. But then after a while, you become addicted to it, like any other form of nicotine.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like people have started doing it instead of vaping,
Fine.
because it's better for you. But it's
yeah.
fucked. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone the other day, and they were like, "Oh, it's fine. You just like you work your way up to it." And I was like, I just feel like I've worked my way up to enough stuff. Like I don't
Yeah.
need to like force myself to take. You know what I mean?
That's the thing about it, is like it feels, it's a bit like, so when I've tried to quit vaping, I've had nicotine gum, which at first you're like, "Ugh, this is disgusting," and then after a while you're like, oh my God, chomp, chomp,
Delicious.
chomp. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
have like
yeah.
15 of these at once.
Yeah, when we
And I
do-
think that's
when
what
we-
happens with the snurs.
We were like working one day, and we had really made our way through a pack of Nicola.
Yeah, because
didn't we?
you
We were like-
sort of get high, you feel like a high from it.
like a Nick Rush type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But I was just in Paris. I don't know if I've mentioned that. And
Le fumer, le cigarette.
the smoking culture in Paris is so inspirational to me. Like, I went to work in a cafe one morning, and it was like 10:30 a.m. and there were these 2 women, like really chic older ladies, I would say like 70s, both wearing stripy t-shirts with like gilets on, and both having a large glass of white wine at 10:30 a.m.
I can picture them
Amazing.
now.
and then smoking Vogues. And I just thought, like, in England, we'd be like, oh my God, why are they drinking wine and smoking Vogues at 10 a.m.? And there you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're not, it's like I saw this group of girls leaving work. It was like 6 o'clock in Le Marais, and these girls had like left the office, and they're all walking along just all together, just smoking a cigarette. And I was like, oh, I just love it.
Yeah.
It's like, I just
Picture perfect.
I respect their like true like loyalty to the culture. Do you know what I mean?
100%. I also love the idea of like, I'm gonna eat steak and like a huge, or not huge, like mashed potato that is half butter, half mash, but I'm gonna eat this little tiny sheep portion.
Yeah.
And like that's how we live. I'm gonna smoke, I'm gonna have like 2 glasses of wine, and in theory a terrible meal, but just like a little.
They don't do stuff. You never see people there unless they're English, like rolling around the floor pissed. But they
Right.
drink. So it's like these women who are drinking at 10:30 a.m. They're drinking, but they're never gonna get like battered. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they just do it in a much more controlled way.
Yeah.
And I love the like outside culture there. Like on a day when it was like remotely sunny, every single bar, cafe, restaurant, all of the seats outside, the streets are just full of seats and people just sitting. And I just think, yeah, we should try and take inspiration from them.
Do we in summer? Do we still like? Does Soho still do all the seats on the street like since
COVID.
pandemic? Yeah, because that was like the piazzas that we all got. But do they still do that now? Maybe everyone sort of stopped doing that.
I just think London's it's a bit dead at the moment. That is what I felt when I got to Paris. I got there on a Tuesday night and I went for a walk on my own. It was 11 o'clock. Tuesday night, every single restaurant was full.
Yeah.
And like here, when you walk around even Soho on a Tuesday night, you don't really see that as much. Like
No.
obviously like Thursday, Friday, Saturdays are like really busy. But I think people here are, trying to save money. Everything's so much more expensive than even Paris. Like a glass of wine there is just much cheaper.
Yeah.
Glass of champagne. I got a glass of champagne for £11. Never get that here.
No.
Euros, sorry.
Well, well, the podcast is moving to Paris.
Yeah.
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 What a question that we have. So I'm kind of springing this on you. But
No,
I
that's
think it'll be fine. What's some of the best advice you've ever been given, or what's some of the best advice you could give? Sort of sincere or like silly.
Oh my God. The best advice I've ever been given. Do you know what? Well, I don't know. This is a bit too complex. I'm obsessed with this woman called Sabrina Zohar. Does anyone follow her in this room?
I don't think so.
She's like a dating relationship expert, American. It's like she's found me at the perfect time. And it's like we are in a constant dialogue at the moment. Like whenever I need to get reminders of things, I go and just watch some of her saved videos. But she's one of the things that she's like helped me realize is that so much of my like adult life, I've like chased like highs, like dopamine highs in the form of like inconsistent relationships or like going out too late or like taking too many drugs or like fucking up my life basically because of the sort of like highs and lows it gives me. And one of the things that I'm trying to do at the moment is like be aware of like that impulse that I have. I don't know how this forms into advice because she's really giving me the advice. So my advice is follow her. But also I think my best advice that if I could say to the younger version of me is that it's in your 20s, you sort of feel like you've got everything figured out. And then I turned 30 last year. And then suddenly I was like, oh my God, like I've gone through such a rebirth and a transition. And so I'm so glad I was relatively patient with myself. And I'm so glad that I've had really good friends to like make me feel accepted even when I'm going through these like really tricky situations mentally. So I think follow Sabrina Zohar, be patient with yourself and surround yourself with people who make you feel accepted even when you don't really like fully accept yourself. That's where I've been incredibly lucky, is to always have people around me who just see me even when I'm really doubting like who I am. Chris being a massive part of that.
I think be patient with yourself is so true. So true. And like patient with yourself if you're trying to break habits, if you're trying to start new habits, you know.
It takes forever. Sabrina, this girl, she said this thing the other day, it takes 3,000 times at reprogramming your neural pathways. So say, for example, you have a negative thought towards yourself, which is like, I'm unlovable, being like an example, right? And I'm speaking on behalf of myself. Like that's something that I've felt a lot of my life is that I'm unlovable. And then when I would feel that in the past, I would go to like, I don't know, like trying to seek love from someone who can't give it to me, like someone like a man who's already shown me like really toxic traits. She says that it takes so many times of you going, okay, no, that is not the right person. I'm going to do this instead. You have to do it over and over and over again. And it's really hard to reprogram, but then you can do it. So it's like, be kind to yourself if you don't do it straight away. It takes years. Just knowing you're committing to a process of being like, I want to be better, but I know it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's like a cool part, I think, of being a human.
100%. Nothing's linear.
Yeah.
Yeah, being patient with yourself and giving yourself grace in the process.
Hey.
I just wanted to finish on saying you are a best friend of the pod, because you're one of my best friends, one of Elizabeth's best. I'm going to say you're one of Elizabeth's best friends, but I'm just going to say what we were talking about the other day was when we first all kind of hung out in Edinburgh.
Oh my
And,
God.
and this was, I was doing a show. I was doing a 50-minute show, and I was having a guest spot every night. And I don't think we'd really met that many times. And everyone I asked was amazing. I'm very grateful that everyone could do it. And you were someone I asked that I literally thought would be like, sorry, Chris, I'm kind of busy. Like, you're like much more experienced and further along your stand-up career than me.
Was this 2022? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I totally like to come and do like a 7-minute spot in my like little cave of a room. I was like, I'm going to ask you because I would love you to do it, but like, I'm ready for you to be like, I'm kind of like doing my show and I'm really, really busy and whatever, I can't do it. But you literally were like, within like 10 seconds was like, I'll be there. And then I was like,
you guys did a song.
We did the song.
Yeah.
But like Elizabeth was saying, you were just like telling the story of like, how it all.
Well, I was just
like
like
your favorite. You're like such a good memory.
It's such a good memory of you just coming in. You were like, "Hey, I'm kind of drunk."
I was so drunk. That's what I was gonna say because it was like 9 o'clock. Or something.
Yeah, it was 9 o'clock.
I think my show that year was at like, I don't know. It was probably at like 5.
Yeah.
Then I think I'd been drinking. Yeah. And then I remember I got there and I sat at the back with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I got on another drink and I was like,
Yeah. And then your set I was watching your set and it was like a 7-minute thing. And by minute 3, you were on your back on the floor, like doing like
the girl K-holing.
Yeah. So about K-holing. And then like stood up, finished it, went like, thank you. And like came to the back and we're like sitting here. And I was like sat down, like carried on drinking your drink. And then afterwards was when, I don't know, this was probably the most iconic thing. We went to the off license and we were like, do you have Vogues? And then you like spilt something all over. And it was so iconic. And then I just remember you going like, come meet my friend. And we were just like running after you in Edinburgh. And I just remember being like, this bitch is so funny. Yeah. What a fucking icon.
I remember being in the shop buying Vogues and spilling the drink. And then I remember we were smoking a cigarette. That's why I remember we were like standing. So I was smoking a cigarette. I remember we were standing down near like Cowgate or wherever it was. Yeah, that was jokes.
Yeah.
So iconic.
That was the Edinburgh where I was really fun.
Such a good meeting. Such a good time to meet.
Yeah.
Such a good time to meet. And we had fun as a 3.
Yeah.
A night preserved in history forever.
Yeah. It was.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Grace.
Thank you for
You're a
having me.
delight always, every time we meet.
I love you both very much. You're just wonderful. So it's a pleasure.
People need to follow you if you don't. Disgrace Campbell on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
People need to look out for
Our
show in
Phoenix
June at the
Arts
Phoenix.
Club.
Yeah, we're doing a show at the Phoenix Arts Club.
What's the date of that? June 17th.
June 17th.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. Oh, you need to listen to Late to the Party.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my podcast.
Important.
My producer's so funny. She's like, whenever I'm doing something, she's like, make sure you talk about the podcast.
No, literally nothing else.
No other projects.
Late to the Party, which is actually a really fun podcast.
It's an amazing podcast.
It's really fun. Yeah, you should listen to that.
It's amazing.
That's my time to go and get my dog.
And that's great. This is going to go and get Eddie. Thank you
Eddie.
so much for listening, everybody. We should also say to share, comment, review, tell a friend.
Leave us a review on Spotify, podcast, wherever you listen.
I'm a Spotify girl, but I'm happy that people are all over the.
All right.
Bye. See you later.
Just before bed is good for your head. What you gonna do? Stay hydrated.